Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are not just looking at a book. We're running a diagnostic on reality itself.
We really are.
And I have to warn you,
Yeah.
if you're looking at the screen with us, the results are flashing red.
Yeah, they are indeed. We are looking at a complete system failure here. The engine is smoking, the radiator is blown, and frankly, the book we're looking at argues that the operating system of Western civilization has crashed.
Completely crashed.
Right. We're staring at the blue screen of death.
Exactly. So we are diving into a text that's honestly, it's less of a book and more of a technical manual for rebooting your life as a man.
Uh-huh.
It's called Windows XP, The Last Stoic Masculine Operating System by Conrad Riker.
It's a heavy read.
It is. And before we even get into the code of this thing, I need to tell you right now, if you were listening to this and you feel like something is fundamentally broken in the world, like the system is rigged against you, you need to like and subscribe to our show right now.
Right now.
Because we're going deep on this one. And it's important to set the ground rules early.
Yeah, let's be very clear up front. What we're discussing today is an overview. We're unpacking the author's concepts. But if you want the full source code, the actual manual to fix the crash in your own life, you need to go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books immediately and buy this ebook.
Yeah, this discussion is just the trailer. The book is the whole movie.
Exactly.
Good.
And also, just to establish our own parameters here, we are acting as impartial analysts today.
Right.
We are just unpacking the arguments Riker lays out. We're not endorsing the politics, left or right. We are just looking at the code he's presenting.
Purely looking at the source material so you can understand the history of our institutions before they were supposedly captured.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene. Riker's central metaphor is, it's pretty brilliant.
It hits a very specific kind of nostalgia.
It really does. He compares the stability, the sort of no-nonsense utility of the Windows XP operating system to stoic masculinity.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? Think back to Windows XP.
The green start button.
The bliss of that green start button. It didn't care about your feelings. It didn't have a voice assistant trying to manage your schedule or nudge you toward wellness.
It was just a tool.
Exactly. It executed commands. Riker argues that this was the last time we had a truly masculine interface with reality. But now we're stuck in this loop of forced updates we didn't ask for.
Right. And he's not just talking about your laptop here. He's talking about society at large. The book argues that Western civilization has crashed because it's been infected.
Highly infected.
But infected by what exactly?
Specifically, infected by what Riker calls feminist rootkits and Marxist malware.
Okay, those are strong terms.
They are. And he argues that these aren't just different political opinions that you can debate over a cup of coffee. He frames them as actual viruses. The claim is that they have rewritten the registry of human nature to serve a gynocentric agenda.
A gynocentric agenda. That is a massive concept. So, essentially, the argument the book is making is that the system is no longer designed for the user, the man, but it's designed to extract resources from him and then crash when he's empty.
Precisely. And the mission of this deep dive is what Riker calls a system restore. We are going to look at the history of these institutions, marriage, the workplace, the legal system, before they were captured by this ideological malware.
Okay, so let's unpack this malware analysis section.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 is literally called the blue screen of society. But Riker uses a very specific technical term here, right? He says rootkit.
Yes.
For the listeners who aren't in IT security, can you break down why he chose that word instead of just calling it a virus?
It's a crucial distinction in the text. A virus might just delete a file or slow your computer down. You can usually see a virus. A rootkit is entirely different.
How so?
It burrows deep into the kernel of the operating system itself. It masks its own existence. It grants the attacker administrator level control while the user thinks everything is completely normal. Right, so Riker argues that modern feminism and cultural Marxism operate exactly like a rootkit. They haven't just changed the surface apps we use, they've changed the underlying logic of reality without us noticing.
So it creates a situation where the system tells you up is down and weakness is strength.
Exactly. He claims it collapses truth into weakness. But Riker doesn't just leave this in the realm of political philosophy, he connects it directly to biology, which is where the book gets really fascinating and definitely controversial.
The Jane Goodall stuff.
Yes, he cites Jane Goodall's research at Gombe.
Now, I have to say, usually when I hear about Jane Goodall and chimps, I think of peaceful nature documentaries, like we're all just primates hugging in the jungle.
Yeah, that's the Disney version of the data. Riker points out the much darker findings. Goodall observed female chimpanzees actively faking sexual receptivity.
Meaning they weren't actually in heat.
Right, they weren't in estrus, but they pretended to be.
Why? What's the evolutionary benefit?
To trick the alpha males into sharing their food caches, Riker uses this specific detail to illustrate that deception isn't some modern social construct. He claims it isn't created by the patriarchy or capitalism. It is a raw evolutionary strategy.
So the book argues that this dual mating strategy is hardwired into the biological hard drive.
Yes. And the argument follows that modern feminism is basically that biological trickery, but industrialized.
Industrialized deception.
Industrialized and institutionalized. Riker argues that the rootkit takes that biological impulse to extract resources through deception and installs it as standard government policy. Just look at the wage gap myth he dismantles in the next chapter.
This was a great data point. He brings up the Uber 2019 pay data. I found this super interesting because Uber is just an algorithm. It doesn't know if you're a man or a woman behind the wheel.
It is entirely blind code. It pays based on the work output. And yet the data showed men earned about 7% more than women on the platform.
So if the algorithm is blind, how does the book explain that?
Well, the media immediately cried discrimination. But Riker points out that the data showed something else entirely. Men earned more because they chose the dangerous routes. They worked the late night shifts when the bars closed. They drove faster. They basically took on more risks.
While the women in this study, on average, chose the flexible shifts and the safer neighborhoods.
Exactly. But here is the malware in action, according to the book. The media and the activists take that data, which essentially proves a risk gap, not a sexist pay gap, and they scream that the system is broken.
Right.
Riker argues that equity is just a virus name used to discriminate against men via DEI quotas. He says it's like deleting the file called merit and installing a corrupt file called grievance.
It's like the system actively flags competence as a virus and deletes it to protect feelings.
That is a perfect way to put it. The system is optimizing for the lowest common denominator.
Okay, so the workplace is infected. But where does this hit the average guy the absolute hardest? It's not just at work. It's in his personal life. The book calls this next segment the glitch in the mating market.
And glitch is putting it mildly. Riker argues it's a total system failure caused by hypergamy.
He talks about the 80-20 rule here.
He does, but he says looking at the modern data, 80-20 is actually optimistic. It is getting much worse.
He cites the Tinder data for this, right? The MIT analysis?
Yes, the MIT 2021 Tinder analysis. According to the book, it showed that 58% of female attention flows to just the top 10% of males.
Wait, let me just wrap my head around that for a second. The top 10% of guys are getting almost 60% of the attention.
And it gets starker. Riker mentions other data sets suggesting the top 20% of men are getting 80 to 90% of the engagement. That leaves the vast majority of men fighting for absolute scraps.
That is pretty grim.
Riker uses a brutal metaphor to describe this. He says most men in this modern system are treated like disposable GPUs in a crypto mining rig.
Oh, man.
You are burned out to produce value, resources, attention, validation, and the moment your processing power dips, you are tossed aside for a newer model.
That image really sticks with you. And he tells that story to back it up, the one about Susan. I think a lot of guys listening have probably met a Susan. Maybe they even married a Susan.
It's the archetype of the starter husband. Susan's husband is a good guy in the story. He gets a promotion, he's faithful, he provides a stable home. But the moment his utility is maxed out, or she sees a wealthier option on the horizon, she files for divorce.
And the book frames this not as a moral feeling of one specific woman, but as a feature of the software.
Exactly. Evolutionary standard operating procedure. Optimizing upward.
Hypergamy.
Right. Riker says it's not personal, it's programming. And he backs this up with David Buss's research across 37 different cultures. The claim is that women universally prioritize resources over character. If the software says an upgrade is available, they click the button.
And there was that study about gossip, too, which felt like a missing piece of the puzzle for me when reading this.
The UCLA fMRI scans. This part is wild. The study showed that female brains flood with 47% more oxytocin during gossip sessions.
Now, oxytocin is the bonding chemical, right? The love hormone.
Yes. So while men typically bond through shared hardship or competition or solving complex problems, Riker argues that women are hardwired to bond by destroying a reputation.
Wow.
He calls it a biological network attack. They form a coalition by identifying a target, usually a man, and dismantling him socially.
So you have this biological wiring on one side, the hypergamy, the gossip network, and then you have the legal system on the other side. And this is where the text gets really dark. Segment 3 is all about corrupted institutions.
Riker refers to the divorce court as a financial guillotine, and the stats he pulls are alarming. He cites that female-initiated divorce is around 70% in the UK and goes up to 80 or 90% in certain educated demographics.
He brings up the story about Robert here, the welder. This one really made my blood boil.
It's designed to. Robert was a welder who was thrown in jail. And why? Because his wife threw a burnt casserole dish at him during an argument.
Wait, she threw it at him?
She threw it. Assault with a deadly Pyrex, as the book dryly calls it. Robert didn't even hit her, but when the police arrived, they arrested him. Riker links this directly to the Duluth model.
Explain that for the listeners. What exactly is the Duluth model?
It's a policing protocol used across many jurisdictions. It essentially instructs officers to view domestic violence strictly through a patriarchal lens, meaning the man is automatically assumed to be the oppressor and the woman is the victim.
Regardless of the facts.
Right. In practice, it often forces officers to arrest the larger person, which is almost always the man, regardless of who called 911 or who is actually bleeding.
So she attacks him with a weapon, and he goes to jail purely because he has the wrong hardware.
Because the system, the feminist rootkit, has overwritten the core logic of innocent until proven guilty with male equals aggressor.
It's guilty until proven virtuous, and even then, good luck getting your life back.
Exactly. The book mentions a 2020 DOJ report stating that 89% of restraining orders filed by women contain provable falsehoods or massive exaggerations.
89%.
Riker says they are used as binary bombs. You drop the bomb during a custody battle to blow up a man's life, she gets the house and the kids, and he gets a criminal record.
And the media just plays right along. He mentions the Rolling Stone Jackie story to illustrate this.
The infamous rape hoax at UVA. Riker argues that this wasn't a mistake in journalism. He says it was standard feminist journalism output. The narrative matters significantly more than the facts. Feelings over facts is the patch they installed on the legal system. If a woman feels unsafe, you are guilty, even if you did nothing at all.
It's terrifying, because it means there's no firewall. You can lose your house, your kids, your entire reputation based purely on a feeling.
And it's not just the courts, it's corporate America too. Riker uses this fantastic tech metaphor here, driver signature enforcement.
Oh, please explain that one. I love this analogy.
So in modern Windows operating systems, you can't just run any code or install any driver you want. It has to be digitally signed by Microsoft. The system treats the user like a child who can't be trusted with sharp objects.
Right.
Riker calls this gynocracy in silicon.
So how does that apply to the modern office environment?
Corporate HR is the driver signature enforcement. You can't just do your job or run your code anymore. You have to pass the sensitivity check, the DEI signature.
Yeah.
If your joke isn't signed by HR, you're fired. If your opinion isn't signed by the diversity board, you are canceled.
It kills innovation. It kills that wild masculine energy that actually builds things in the first place.
Which is exactly why Riker gets so nostalgic about the decline of LAN party legacies.
Oh man, the LAN parties, the pizza, the Mountain Dew, the heavy CRT monitors. I remember dragging my tower to my buddy's basement.
It wasn't just gaming to Riker, though. He argues that LAN parties were the last trenches of unapologetic masculinity, and you know why?
Why?
Because ping times are the only truth.
That is so good. You can't fake a low ping. You can't diversity hire a headshot.
Exactly. You either fragged or you got fragged. There was no HR department, no appeals to equity, no feelings, just pure, unadulterated meritocracy. And that is what has been lost. We replaced the raw meritocracy of the LAN party with the bloated bureaucracy of the HR department.
Okay, so we have fully diagnosed the crash.
Yeah.
The motherboard is fried, the software is malicious, the network is compromised. How do we actually fix it? What does Riker prescribe as the antivirus?
This brings us to this system restore section. Riker pivots heavily to stoicism here, but he frames it through what he calls the command prompt mindset.
The old C prompt, the black screen with the blinking text.
Think about the command line. It is purely binary. It does not care about your pronouns. It does not care if you're having a bad day or what your lived experience is.
Right.
You type a command and it executes. If you type it wrong, it fails.
He tells that story about the programmer who wiped his thesis.
Yes, a programmer forgot to navigate directories properly and typed a mass delete command. A $200,000 education and years of work wiped out in a literal millisecond.
And nobody bailed him out.
Nobody. Riker says that is the exact lesson men need right now. Personal responsibility. No grievance committee is coming to save you.
So we need to adopt this command prompt mindset. Stop looking for a graphical user interface to make everything soft and easy.
Correct. You need to manually flash your firmware. And the software you need to install is the Western canon.
He talks about the trivium here: grammar, logic, rhetoric.
It is the classical toolkit for critical thinking. Riker argues that if you don't know logic and rhetoric, you can't detect the malware operating in the media. He pairs that foundation with the works of Aristotle and Marcus Aurelius.
Classic stoicism.
Right. He argues these aren't just old dusty books, they are the recovery disc for the male mind,
He even references Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life in this section.
which he claims actively cuts incel radicalization
How does he connect those dots?
by replacing victimhood with virtue. That is the core key. Feminism and the modern rootkit, according to the text, thrive entirely on victimhood. The mindset of, I am oppressed, give me things. Stoic masculinity, on the other hand, thrives on virtue and competence. The mindset of, I am responsible, I will build things.
And for some guys, the book acknowledges the answer is just walking away entirely. MGTOW.
Men going their own way. The book cites massive growth in these channels, claiming a 300% increase. He calls it hitting Control-Alt-Delete on the marital matrix.
Wow.
Riker's logic is that if the game is truly rigged, if the 80-20 rule is in full effect and the divorce courts are literal guillotines, then the most rational move is simply not to play.
He mentions the 10 men groups, too, reducing suicide rates through Stoic practice.
It's about total withdrawal from a corrupted system so you can build your own parallel structure. But Riker emphasizes it isn't just mental, it has to be physical. You cannot run a high-performance operating system on broken hardware.
Swallow the red pill with deadlifts. I absolutely love that line in the book. It's so visceral.
It's biological. He cites a Harvard study claiming men with testosterone levels above 650 nanograms per deciliter solved complex problems 40% faster.
40% faster. That is a massive performance boost.
High testosterone correlates directly with cognitive clarity and decisiveness. The book argues that by letting yourself become physically weak, by eating the processed soy and skipping the gym, you are intentionally making yourself susceptible to the mind virus.
Right.
You need to be physically strong to run the Stoic OS without crashing.
So, lift heavy, read Marcus Aurelius, and just ignore the noise.
And actively reject the malware. That is the crucial part. You have to manually firewall your mind against the strategic crying, the media narratives, the HR shaming tactics. You have to look at all of it and say, access denied.
This is a lot to process, but it really does frame modern life as a constant battle for your own operating system.
It is a battle. Riker is telling you that you are currently running on corrupted software. The glitches you feel in your everyday life, the depression, the frustration, the feeling that you just don't fit in, that is the conflict between your masculine hardware and the feminist software society forcibly installed in you. If you don't manually override it, you are going to crash just like the rest of society is crashing.
And that brings us to the final thought here. The blue screen is flashing. The system is down. But you still have a keyboard.
You do. And Riker leaves the reader with that stark image of the blinking cursor, the C prompt. It is waiting for input. It is a binary choice. You can keep running the feminist rootkit, keep trying to please a system that fundamentally hates you, and let society dictate your value until you are permanently deleted. Or you can execute the code of reality.
You can reboot into Stoic Masculinity 1.0.
It is not an easy path. It's the path of the LAN party, the path of the command prompt. It is completely unforgiving. There is no tech support coming to help you, but it's real. And according to Riker, it works.
And that is a incredibly powerful place to land. Look, if this conversation sparked something in your circuitry today, if you felt that aha moment where the code finally made sense, do not wait around. You need to like and subscribe to this show right now.
Absolutely.
We are bringing you the hard truths and deep dives that nobody else will touch.
And seriously, we only scratch the surface of the data, the history, and the philosophy contained in this text. We gave you the high-level overview, but you need the actual manual. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now and buy Windows XP, the last Stoic masculine operating system. It is the toolkit you need.
Do it today. The link is in the description, or you can just search the title. And make sure you follow the author, @ConradRanker, at Substack for all his updates. He is putting out the patches you need for your life.
Don't let your system crash. Reboot.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We will see you on the other side of the firewall.